This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
There are a whole lot of things in America that are unsustainable. Education is one of them. We cannot continue down the path that we're on and expect money to always be there. We've got to make some really hard choices when it comes to things like education, where we continue to get the money, and if we've been getting the biggest bang for our buck. That's the reason I have for so long been against any spending increases. Because nationally, if you look at the spending increases year after year and decade after decade, they have not provided additional education opportunities to kids. In other words, the education has not, kids have not been more educated. We're not educating more kids, generally speaking. We're just spending more money. And it's not about just wanting to save money so I have more money. It's unsustainable. Eventually, we'll get to a point where we don't have enough. So we've got to come up with some real solutions. I fought against any additional school funding. I vote every time when I'm given the opportunity to tax myself with a levy for additional school funding. Every time I vote no until I see some real change. Additional taxes? No. I don't care what they are until I see some real change. Some things that will put us on a sustainable path. If you want me to pay additional money to pay off the national debt, I'll do it. I'm willing to tax myself. I'll vote for it if you give me true reform. And that's what I ask when it comes to education and levies. The Lakota levy failed. You people that work for the school district, I'm sorry. It's going to get even more difficult for you. You people that have kids that go to that district, it's probably going to get more difficult for you as well. That's not fun. I'm not happy that you have to go through that. But you have to remember, we're all going through that. I bring this up today because there was a Your Voice section in the Inquirer written by the son of one of the teachers. I think it's the band director. And he wrote this very long article. It's well written. He's an Ohio State University student, hopes to go into education. But he's missing some really, really important things. Part of the article that he wrote talks about what a good school system it is, great schools, the things they could do if they had gotten the levy passed. He talks about what a great teacher his dad is, what a great dad he is, what an impact his dad has had on many students. All wonderful things. It's good to write about your parent if you feel that way. It's good to tell the world what a good teacher he is. That's all great. But he wrote it to basically blast everybody for not passing the levy. And he starts it by saying, in 6 months, my father may lose his job. I suppose you could blame the economy, but the real reason is the failure of the Lakota Schools tax levy. See, this is what he's missing. It's not the failure of the levy that will possibly cost his dad his job. It is the economy, and it's the unsustainable path that education is on. And as somebody that wants to go in education, he's missing something really, really important here. We've got some real big issues. And to not understand that you simply cannot continue to ask people for more money because they don't have it. He talks about how much it would have cost. He says, my dad has been a band director at the Lakota School District for the last 14 years, and because of the levy's failure, his job is at stake. He says, Issue 2 asked the voters to approve a $12 million emergency tax levy to ensure that the Lakota School District could maintain the level of quality education they provide their students. It came down to $242 a year for a $100,000 home. That's $20 a month, he writes. He ends the article with saying, what will you do with $20 a month? I guess guilting you for not saying, well, I'll go ahead and give $20 a month to continue this great education. Just only $20 a month per $100,000 house. But what this Ohio State University student doesn't understand, and I'm guessing he doesn't understand because he's still in college, and through most of his life, it's been a pretty good economy. For most of his life. He's not understanding what it's like to have worked 20, 30, or 40, maybe more years of your life and be faced with a mortgage foreclosure, losing your job, not being able to provide for your family. When you get to those situations, $20 a month per $100,000 home is gargantuan. Imagine you have a $200,000 home, by no means a mansion. So that's almost $500 a year. What if you have a $250,000 or $300,000 home? Almost $750 a year for a $300,000 home. Still not a mansion. Maybe you've worked your entire life to afford that home. When you're faced with this, $750 a year is huge. That's $750 a year of take-home pay for a $300,000 house. So if you're somebody who makes $40,000 a year, you're essentially giving up 1/40th of your salary. If you make $25,000 a year, 1/25th of your salary if you have a $300,000 house. This kid simply doesn't understand. It's just $20 a month. $20 a month, if you are somebody that is struggling, right, is huge. There are people that are out there selling blood and collecting cans. And this kid has the audacity to try to guilt people. Well, it's only $20 a month. Listen, the education there is good. Let's do everything we can to keep it good. Let's do what we can. Support Lakota schools, fine. Do I want to see his dad lose his job? Absolutely not. But I also didn't want to see everybody else lose their job in America. Everybody that hasn't had a job. And the people that do have jobs, I haven't wanted to see their salaries decrease year after year. People that used to work in a factory making $50,000, $60,000, now working retail, making minimum wage. I didn't want to see any of them. But the tone of this article really ticked me off. The guilting people. It's just $242 a year. That's a car payment. It's a car payment. Wouldn't you like to get out from underneath one car payment this year? For some people, it's rent, it's food, it's medicine. Now, you may differ on your opinion about whether or not the levy should have gone through, whether it was a good idea. But to have this kid in college who is not out there every day, who has not worked 20, 30 years of his life, try to guilt me because his parent may lose his job and it's only $20 a month, that really sets me off. Playing on the emotion. Again, it is sad. I feel bad for anybody in that situation. But writing this as my father may lose his job, and it's your fault because you're all greedy. It's not just the $20 a month, and it's not just the people that have lost their jobs. It's people that have jobs right now that have seen their taxes increase, that have seen inflation, that are faced with additional mortgage payments if they had an arm. Thing after thing, people have less money. So another $20 a month on top of everything else can be crippling. Eric in Fairfield, you're on 700 WLW.
Doc, how are you? You got hit on one of my pet peeves here. A couple things on it. Real quick, the Lakota people or the Lakota school district I know how they could real easily get 46% of the money they were looking for.
How's that?
If everybody that voted for it would just go ahead and mail that additional amount in on their taxes or directly to the school, they'd end up with about half the money they were looking for.
Hang on, Eric. I'll let you make your additional point, but let's explore that a second. You're absolutely right. What is stopping those people from sending it? Those people that supported it, go ahead and send it in. You're right. They would get 46% of it. That would stop some of the layoffs.
Well, it would, the hurt would only be half as bad.
Sure.
To your point on the college kid writing that's not as bad as the fact that the people who were running the campaign run the campaign on the same premise. The whole campaign was run on trying to gild us into, I'm not a Lakota. I live in Fairfield, so I'm neighboring school district up here. But I would have voted no for it as well. And here's the thing. I had a discussion with a teacher friend of mine who's in a different district a while back. And this teacher, she's a second, third grade teacher, quality teacher. I know she's a good teacher. And I suggested to her, I said, well, why don't they come out with a thing, all right, across the board pay cuts of, say, 10% for all teachers, all administrators going into one of these levies to try to show that it's not just about the kids, that it's, they're willing to take a hit too.
Right.
And she looked at me like I had rocks in my head. And she said, well, if we do that, the quality of education is going to go down.
How would it go down if they're just taking a slight pay cut?
Well, that's what I said to her. And I said, Cindy, I know you're a good teacher. I said, if you made 10% less next year, does that mean you couldn't teach as good?
Right. I'm not saying that would be fun to go through, but you're right. That's the quality of education isn't going to suffer.
Now, you're a good teacher because you're a good teacher, not because of how much money you're making. And granted, I understand that would be tough on you.
Absolutely.
But does that mean you couldn't teach the kids as good? Or would you not teach them as good, just to try to prove a point?
No, I don't think that. I think it's so tied into it. You're right that's how they perceive it. Well, it's a standard reaction or line. Well, the quality of education will go down, Eric.
Well, and then the other thing is, I hear it's all about the kids. It's about the kids. Well, now I see what the cuts they're doing out there. They're cutting sports out. They're cutting out busing for the kids. But I've yet to hear of any kind of cuts whatsoever to the employees or the people working there. Well, what was the levy about? Was the levy about the kids, or was the levy about keeping the benefits and the salaries and everything up for the people who are employed there?
The other thing, too, Eric, after the fact, and I really appreciate the call, but after the fact, to get lectured by this kid and, again, still play the same guilt thing, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for his father. I want to see the best for him, and I want to see the best for all people. But to go back to it after the people voted and now guilt them, look, when my father loses his job, it's your fault. You have no idea what it's like. Get ready, though. You're going to. Because this attitude is helping to continue what's wrong. And we are going to continue to struggle as long as there are people with an attitude like this that, well, it's just an extra $20. Not getting the grand picture of things. I'll get some more calls coming up next on 700 WL. Your Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast for meteorologist Frank Marzullo. Passing showers this morning. Could see some snowflakes mixed up north. Showers taper by noon. Cloudy skies this afternoon, high 48. Clear skies tonight, low 32. Sunshine tomorrow to start the weekend with a high near 55. Currently at the big one, it's 41 degrees. You made a really good point. If you supported the Lakota Levy, go ahead and send your money in. Send your just $20 a month. Go ahead and send it in. You will cut those potential layoffs of 130 teachers. You cut those in half. That's awesome. Go ahead and do it. Nobody's stopping you. Got an email this morning after we talked about the Lakota School District and the levy. And the way it laid out, there was a kid who wrote a letter, Ohio State student, who wrote a letter on behalf, well, not on behalf, but about his father possibly losing his job. His father works for the Lakota School District. It was a very nice letter, part of it anyways, where he talked about what a wonderful teacher his dad is and how he's proud of his father and stuff like that. And I think that's very admirable. But he also had this odd tone where it was like, well, it's your fault that my father may lose his job because you simply couldn't part with $20 a month. Boy, that really rubbed me the wrong way. Rubbed me the wrong way because it's not just $20 a month. It's $20 on top of everything else you pay for the school district, and then on top of everything else in the economy and all the other taxes and whatever, and it's very difficult right now. And if you're in college, you may not understand that. You may not understand what it's like to be, 41 years of age or 45 years of age and have worked your entire life and you face all of this stuff, $20 at times can mean a whole lot of money. And remember, that's just on a $100,000 home. And some of those people are actually facing, tough issues with their mortgages where they're underwater right now, paying through the nose. $20 they don't have. I was really frustrated by that. So I come in and I get an email from Rich, who was behind the NoLakotaLevy.com website, instrumental in seeing that thing shot down. He said, "Hi, Doc. After your show yesterday, I came home to an onslaught of negative email because of the No Lakota campaign. I used use that to some extent, but I was surprised at the activity now that the election is over. Below is one of those more well-thought-out letters." And the reason he had a bunch of activities because we brought it up here yesterday. He said, "During your show, Doc, I had over 100 hits on my blog that pretty much killed the Lakota Levy this time around." And I'll put a link to it, too, because there's still discussion. And it still is pretty interesting because it's not just Lakota, it's every other school district. And guess what? There's a bunch of them that are going to come back to you next time around with their hand out and saying, "Hey, I need more money because the schools are in trouble." You've got Little Miami in Warren County. They may dissolve. The school district may actually dissolve. What happens then? Do you get absorbed into other school districts? Why? Voters there rejected 7 consecutive tax issues in 2 years. So they're going to keep coming back. Not just Little Miami or Lakota, but other ones as well. We don't have the money. Here's one of the letters, by the way, I'll share that he sent to me. It says, "So, Rich, I would like to thank you personally. Starting mid-January, my wife is going to have to leave her job since she will be commuting my 3 kids to school. I called my real estate agent as I was thinking about moving. He stated that it would be a waste to list my house right after the levy. I'm a conservative, and yes, the school has to balance its budget moving forward, but I would rather pay $300 per year so I wouldn't lose 10% of my house value and my wife's job. Move to Miami, please." It's difficult right now. I don't think people are fully understanding it. As evident from the North College Hill School District, no, they've been working on some different plans because they have seen levies fall. In fact, voters just rejected a 4.96 mil levy that would have generated about $760,000. And this is what one of the board members said about that. They're looking at maybe studying an earned income tax levy now. But one of the board members, Jan Gardner, said that he blamed a lack of understanding. He said people just can't seem to realize that the money from the school construction can't be used for operation. And I understand. He's right. People don't understand, what these things can be used for. There are limitations. When you get government money, sometimes it can only be used in certain areas. But what Jan isn't understanding is it didn't have to do with the lack of understanding about that. He's right. People are confused about those things. But the reason people are rejecting these levies, they don't have the money, and they don't see an end to this stuff. It's those two things. It is the endless handout. We need more money. We need more money. We need more money. And people don't have it now. That's the real answer. So it's not that they don't understand what fund can be used where and what levy can be used where. They don't have the money. They're afraid for the future because it doesn't look good right now. And they don't see a real way out of this stuff. So you want true reform across the board, people will get behind it. But until they truly see something different, not the same warmed over ideas, you're going to continue to have these things. And they'll continue to fail. So if Little Miami goes down and dissolves, who's next then? And there's a lot of people that comment, got some emails to share. We'll do it next on 700 WLW. Hey, you can join Jim Scott Thanksgiving morning at Paul Brown Stadium for the 101st Thanksgiving Day race. Walk or run. It's a great time, and it's to support local charities. See, it starts at Paul Brown Stadium, and it ends at Paul Brown Stadium. So why not just stay there? Yeah, that's a short run, isn't it? Starts there and end there. Very confusing. Well, if you want more details, check out 700WLW.com. Just search events for more details. I'll be with Jim, by the way, at Reds Fest coming up December 4th, Saturday the 4th, so you can join us there as well. Talking about school levies, Tom on a cell. You're on 700 WLW. Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I got something that happened about 5 years ago in the school district I live in. Of course, I'm a homeowner, so most of our the school's paid out of our homeowners' taxes. So they came to us and told us, they said, we want to make it fair. We want to make a earned income tax.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about in North College Hill. Yeah,
4.75%, 0.75%, and that way everybody pays, no matter if you're a homeowner or not. I says, well, what happens to the approximately half of my $2,400 a year I spend for taxes in this county that goes to the schools? Oh, well, that'll be discontinued if this tax passes, if this earned income tax passes.
So you got a double whammy there.
Yeah, well, they lied. So that was 5 years ago, and ain't nothing ever went away. So I pay about $1,200 out of my house taxes, plus me and my wife pay 0.75% earned income tax towards the schools up in the Southwest School District, and I was flat out told a lie. I blame myself for not reading it and investigating it more, but I trusted the people that I was talking to, and I thought it sounded like earned income tax sounded like a good idea. That way it took the burden off the homeowners. Everybody that kids want that school paid, And so I don't vote for nothing anymore. I vote no on everything now.
Now, was there a time, Tom, at some point, would you be willing to vote yes if you really thought they were turning things around?
Yeah. If I thought they were being honest to me and they were really trying, and I just, just tell me the truth. Don't lie. Just tell me the truth.
So for you, it's about the truth. Just be honest and transparent.
Yeah, I mean, I may not like the answer, but at least just tell me the truth.
All right.
And then I'll make a decision on a truthful situation, on truthful facts, instead of telling me, well, you're going to get all that money off of your homeowner's taxes. You're just going to pay 0.75%. Well, now it's a double whammy. Now it's twice.
Now, I certainly share your thoughts. Give it to me straight, but I still want them to come up with a real plan. Got an email from John. He said, my main point is that the financial status of Lakota has changed from where it was in May, and we have time to develop a long-term fix. Both pro and anti-levy people can agree that a long-term fix to Lakota is needed, and not just passing more taxes without another cut. Not just cutting buses and 130 teachers. It will not fix the long-term problem. Ask the Lakota residents to voice their concern about the lack of financial management and the need for a long-term fix to Lakota, and the need to email the Lakota School Board before November 29th vote. The anti-levy people should be outraged by the proposed actions of Lakota to cut busing when it's not needed today and will have a direct impact on their property values today. Who will want to live in a school district with a state minimum busing when the streets and walkways do not support the state minimum? No, I understand, and that's the reason I've always said I will support the turnaround and do my extra. I will carry some more of the weight with all of these things. I will shoulder more of the load if you truly turn it around, if you do it that way. More calls coming up in 700 W. There are a lot of bad ideas when it comes to schools and education in America, and the funding is just one part of it. The same people that are telling you what is need to fund the schools, in other words, the people that run the schools, the superintendents, the principals, the administrators, people in government that talk about education. It's not just the bad ideas with funding, it's bad ideas with running the schools in general. So you can't do just the piecemeal of, well, we're going to go ahead and fund it this way. You've still got other issues. In general, we have this big gaping hole with education. There are a lot of problems. Let me give you another example. All over the country, different school districts have started following down this path of not letting kids fail, where they say you cannot get below a 59. If you just automatically get a 59, well, it's not right to let them fail. Or the Power of I is one program. You get an incomplete. You don't do your work. You don't show up to school. You screw off. They just give you an I, an incomplete. You say, well, what's the difference, Doc? Well, the incomplete is the kid can go ahead and finish it whenever he likes. Some school districts had it over the course of several years. So if you don't do your work, you can eventually go back and do it on your time. And here's another example of how bad it's gotten. Fairfax County High School. This is right outside of Washington, D.C. West Potomac High School. The principal there came up with one of the plans to banish Fs, like the other ones I told you about. No Fs could be given to kids. Then he came up with another unique idea. His name is Cliff Hardison, and he's the principal. Last month, he instructed teachers to allow cheaters to retake tests. If the kids get caught cheating, they are allowed to retake the test. The idea behind it, he says, is that cheating should result in a disciplinary consequence separate from an academic consequence. And get this, the weirdest thing happened. When he put this plan into motion, parents actually got upset and told him they didn't like it, and he had to reverse the policy. Can you imagine? Why would these Neanderthal parents, these heartless, mean-spirited parents, do such a horrible thing? Don't they understand the genius between a disciplinary consequence separate from an academic consequence when a kid gets caught cheating? Genius. So he had to reverse it. But then he had one more ace to play. This principal then says to the teachers, you can still use the policy at your discretion. It just won't be a school-wide policy. So cheaters in West Potomac High School can take the test over. I guess it's unlimited times. So wouldn't it be advantageous, grade-wise, for a kid to just cheat and cheat and cheat until he doesn't get caught? Let's say they've really cracked down and they're watching you. It's like that scene out of Spies Like Us where they got cameras while you're taking the test. They're watching you from every angle, right? Wouldn't it still be in the best interest of the kid to just try to cheat and cheat and cheat until they don't catch him? He may have other consequences like detention or something, but when it comes to his grades, he might as well test the system. It's like robbing a bank and them not punishing you for attempted robbery. Wouldn't it be in your best interest to continue, financial best interest to continue to just try to rob it? Oh, you got me, but there's no punishment, so, oh, shucks. And the next day you just try it again because eventually, odds are, you'll eventually succeed. No cheating. So until we get to the bottom of mindset like this, along with the bottom of funding, we're going to still have these issues at Lakota High School, Lakota School District, Miami schools. We're going to continue to have them till we get serious about true reform in education, both with the ideas, the way things are taught, the teachers' unions, and also funding those schools. My name is Doc Thompson. This is the home of the best Bengals coverage, 700 WLW.